Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. I'm Emily and this is my art journey. It's been really hard for me to want to record with the state of the United States, but art is my therapy, so I thought maybe we could kind of work through this together through our art, and I hope you'll tune in with me for this holiday season. I am posting every other Wednesday, or maybe 2 times in December, unless I get super into it and I post another video. We'll kind of see how it goes. And today we are going to create a holiday wreath. And last time I did a wreath on my channel, I didn't draw it out first. And I think it was a little bit of a disaster. So we're going to draw it out first. I did kind of a mock-up. This is kind of what I'm going to do. Now, you could always turn it so that this is on the top, and then you could kind of write your word within the circle if you wanted to. I think I'm going to go ahead and just keep it like this. This is an 8x8 piece of cold pressed watercolor paper that I cut down because I have this frame. So I thought, hey, let's just, use what I already have. And then I went ahead and did tape a little bit of a border. I may end up taking that off, we'll see. I may end up wanting the foliage, if you will, to go all the way to the edges. So I'm not sure yet. Actually, yeah, I am. I think I'm going to go ahead and take that tape off. Usually I would use heat, but I just put it on, so I think it's going to be fine. You could also cut it a little bit bigger, which I could have done, taped it down, and then cut it down to an 8x8. But since I'm not going to be using a ton of water, I'm not really going to worry about it buckling too bad. So yeah. I'm gonna go ahead. I do have a pencil. Let me tell you the other supplies I have. I have two cups of water. I have one here, and then one to rinse, and then one that's clean water. And then I have my paints already activated. I am using, just because I haven't used it forever, I thought I'd break out. It's a Davenport Glitz C palette. I like the greens, and then I do like this red color. So I thought I'd go ahead and throw that palette out there. And I am using, let's see, I have, it's called Sylph, and then I also have Enchantress, and then this is called Ariel, and then I also did get Alchemy ready. It's hard to see it, but it's kind of like a shimmery, kind of goldish yellow color. But then I also have my gold Posca Pen, which I may use for some embellishments. I also have my Posca Pen. I always like to do things kind of illustrative, so I like to add some line work. You don't have to do that at all if you don't want to. I have quite a few brushes. I don't know if I'll use all of them, but I have my Polina Bright #1, my silver, it's like a dagger brush. I have a #3 round Princeton, a #6 round Princeton, and a #10 round Princeton. Princeton is a brush I tend to kind of gravitate to a lot. Polina Bright's really nice too, but I think she's an Australian-based company, so they're a little bit pricier. I got them with a really good deal, so I will have those off to the side. I wanted to touch on something else that I haven't really talked about, or I forget to talk about maybe, but when I activate my paints, I like to use a little pipette, and I'll put water in that, and then I will go ahead and just put the water right in there. That way I'm not dirtying up my water every time or wasting paint on my brush when I keep trying to add water. So I like to do that. And then another thing is, you can ruin the tip of your brush, your nice watercolor brushes, when you're kind of mixing the paint around and then scooping it out. So I just use kind of like a junky, it's not junky, but a cheap brush that I've been kind of using to stir up my paints and then to put that into my palette. So just another little thought for you. And I think we'll dive right in. I'm using it's a Pentel mechanical pencil with, I believe it's B lead or HB. So it is a little bit of a softer lead, and I like to do that for my videos so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I thought we'd kind of draw it together. Now, if you want your berries to be perfectly symmetrical, that's okay too. You can always use a circle template. To create this circle, I just had a lid I found that I was like, okay, we'll just use that. I do have the, oh shoot, whatever it's called. One of these. You can always use, sometimes I'll use these if it's like an odd size or if I can't find something that I like. I don't always like to use this because it tends to put a little, kind of a little indentation in my paper, but it's always an option for sure. But I like to make it easy peasy, so I just used a lid. So I will go ahead, I'm gonna kind of leave this right here. This is a great activity or painting to just be loose. Practice your leaves, practice, you know, just making marks, and then just kind of putting them in a way that makes it look really pretty. You can do it small, you can do it large, you can do a couple small ones and see what you really like and then make a larger one. This is just supposed to be super simple, super easy, kind of a quick way to create some holiday art, kind of set your mind off in a fantasy land and kind of get out of the day-to-day craze that we're dealing with. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some berries down first. Put this a little bit closer so you can see it real quick. But again, this is going to be very loose, just kind of go with how I feel. So I'll start with a few little berries here, and I like to do things in threes. And I will put a couple of the berries kind of behind, so that like this would be the front one and then those are behind. And then I'm going to put that off to the side for now. I'll add these other little circles a little bit later. So a holly leaf, which is, this is going to kind of be holly, is basically where you're just kind of making little points. Okay? I can zoom in a little bit for you. Got my candle going to be a little festive. So you can kind of have them bend different directions. I like to kind of put the line in first, then the center line. That way I kind of know which way it's going to be bending. And then I can go in and kind of put in my other lines, following that center line. And I'm actually going to make that a little bit bigger. If you hear any yelling in the background, there's a football game going on. And there's a little bit of yelling. So I apologize if you can hear that. And they don't have to be perfect again. And then once you kind of pencil them in, you can always kind of change them once we get kind of started. But I'm going to do 3 of these leaves as well. And then I'm just going to kind of start putting, it's basically like the leaves, they're either going to be basically, I don't know, big ovals with just kind of a point here, or you can kind of go where you make them kind of fat and then, well, not exactly like that. Just different shapes. I mean, leaves are all different shapes, so there's not really any wrong way to do it, but I kind of like the loopy ones. So I'm gonna just start kind of going through, and I want things to kind of stick out that way, kind of filling it in. But I will go back and put some little little dots and little swirlies and things, so you don't have to completely fill it up the first go. You want to kind of put in your bigger items first. And you can make it so things go behind. And then you can make them different sizes. And you can make it go all the way around. I'm just kind of doing kind of half.
We're chasing snowflakes as they're falling down, and follow route or fall across the town. Later with me.
And then because of the way my arm works, I have to turn it over to draw the other directions because I can't draw it upside down. It's weird. I don't know. Maybe somebody else understands that too.
On the frozen lake, saying hi to every friendly face, and later we warm up by the fireplace. Carolers are singing outside our door, lovely songs we all heard before, as they walk from house to house to wish us all a Merry Christmas Day. Merry Christmas Day.
And then I think I will, and I've kind of just put in some other little, I don't know if it would be like a fir branch or something, where it's just the branch. And then there's like a little piece there. And then you just start kind of making your little needles. Like so. You don't want to do it so it's just like looks like the hairs are parted like this. You want to make sure you're putting some also in the center. So you would put some that are just coming in the center, and then you could put some that are on the outside too. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm just gonna kind of fill some of the spaces with those as well. Just kind of as a placeholder, because I'll put these in obviously with the paintbrush, but this way I kind of know where I've kind of got things filled in. And again, feel free to use any shapes you want. You know, if you want to do more holly, do more holly. If you want to do completely different, maybe if you want to do, I don't know what the other, it's not a fir tree, but the ones that have more, like the whole thing, it has the needles. I'm not a tree specialist, so I don't know what they're called. And I still like to do things in odd numbers, so I'm gonna start with maybe 5 of these.
Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times, we'll be chilling and having
Okay.
a good time.
So I'm gonna go ahead, I think, and start painting these, and then I'm gonna add in, well, I can go ahead and add the berries in. So I'm gonna add some, not necessarily, maybe they're berries, maybe they're not. It's just more filler. So I'm gonna use different size circles just for some, like I said, just for some different kind of filler. You can do these or not. That's a little too close. And kind of loosely put them in.
And I can promise Santa's coming to visit. No, he will.
And I'm getting a little bit of smearing because of the heavy lead that I'm using, but I'm doing that, as I said, to make sure that you can kind of see what I'm doing. I will take my knead eraser in a minute and kind of lighten up the lines a little bit so you don't totally see those once I put my paint down. I love a good circle template. And then I can add more if I want to. I think that's good for now. So yeah, so you can just take your knead eraser and just kind of roll it across your page. And then it'll pick up some of that graphite. So it lightens it up a little bit for you. Like so. And then here where I kind of change that leaf, I'll kind of erase that a little bit better. And then after it's painted, you can pick up any like other smears, but once you put watercolor over pencil, you can't erase it. So that's also something to think about. There we go. Move this out of the way. I'm going to zoom in a little bit now that I'm going to start painting. All right, so again, this is just loose, so don't overthink it. If you go outside your line, or if you want to add more as you go, do that. That's why, like I said, I sketched it out this time because last time I felt like it was a complete disaster. So I was trying to save myself a little bit of headache by kind of drawing it out first. You simply don't have, you certainly do not have to do that. And you can try different sizes of brushes. I'm going to start, I think, with my number 10 round brush. All my paints are already activated. And you don't want to outline. So I'm going to put my brush, you can actually start at the tip and then press down. And then press down. That's one way to do it. And I've got a couple different greens here, so I'm going to kind of alternate. Or you can start fat and then lift up. Now the tip of your brush is going to make a difference on kind of how skinny it gets at the bottom. I mean, if you use less pressure, obviously, but it can be easier to achieve a thinner line if you have a pointier brush. So I don't think this one's what I want right now. And you can kind of just dab, just to give a little bit of a shadow line or just a little bit more interest. So I think I'm going to go ahead and switch to, I'm going to try this number 6. It may be too small, but you know what, we're just going to wing it today. You can also, I'm doing this so I'm not going to make a bunch of passes. I'm kind of doing it so this is pretty creamy paint. So it's a pretty equal mix of paint and water. Because I don't plan on, so you know, in a lot of paintings I do lots of layers. I don't plan on doing that for this one. This is just supposed to be a quick and easy, fun way to get some art in for the day. And then if it beads up like this, you can take kind of dab your brush off and then kind of pick that up if you want to. And I like to bring my brush in the same, or the paint, I push it or pull it in the same direction. So I'm just kind of pulling it down right now. As the year gone by. This one is a little wonky. That's okay. That's a-okay. I'm just kind of changing the shape a little bit as I go. Cover that up with another berry. It's a little bit of a train wreck. You can use as many shades of green that you want. I'm mostly just using the 2, I believe. You can also mix them together, which I will probably do a little bit. You can add some red or blue to your greens, and then that will also change the shades. Like I said, working on a project like this, it's really fun just to experiment a little bit. So I'm pressing down harder, and then when I get closer to the tip of it, I release the pressure so that it's a lot lighter. So I'll add a little bit of red so I can show you. This is a little bit of red. It mutes it back a little bit, so it makes it look a little bit more natural. And then I just kind of start picking up. I don't rinse my brush. I just kind of dab it into whichever color I end up picking up. So then I'll end up having more than one color on my brush at one time, which is good too, because then it also gives me different variations. You can always add some yellow. This brush is probably a little bit too small for this, but I like the point on it, so we're just gonna go with it. I also haven't made a ton of wreaths, so this is great practice for me too. I mean, this channel's called Emily's Art Journey because that's exactly what it is. Me learning and growing and working at getting better and better with what I create. Kind of showing you how I do it or how I make mistakes or whatever, so maybe you don't have to make those. Mistakes are part of the journey, part of growing. I feel like the lessons I've learned the most in my life are lessons where I ended up learning the hard way, I guess. Those kind of have stuck with me a little bit better, which is unfortunate, but you know, here we are. You could also just add some gold leaves in between too if you want. Again, play with the fun colors. I'm accenting with green, so I didn't do it this way. So I didn't do it that way, but you could certainly do both. Don't forget, you can tag me on Instagram if you'd like to show me your work. You can also email me a picture. All of my information is in the description box of this video. And as always, I love to hear from you and get your feedback on what you think about what I'm working on. If you have a request of something to paint sometime, I'm always interested in what you have to say, as long as you're not mean. We got enough of that in the world. I don't need any meanness. Okay. Then I'm going to switch to this liner brush, I believe, to make these little fir needle branches, whatever they are. And you don't want to push down too hard, but this is a really great brush because it gives you super, super, super fine lines. And then I just kind of flick with it. As you can't see my hand. There we go. Just kind of flicking, flick like this. You can make them as big and fluffy as you want to. You have to be careful. Make sure you don't put your hand in something super wet. You can either pull it towards you, towards the stem, and it's okay to overlap, obviously, because not everything has to be separate, or you can flick out from the center out, or, like I said, flick from the outer to the end. I kind of do a combination of both, depending on which direction. If it's going, you know, this way or that way or down. With the liners, you have to kind of load them up with paint often because they don't hold a lot of paint because they're so fine. After I kind of fill this in, I'll kind of take a step back and kind of look and see if there's any place I want to add more leaves. And then I'll start kind of adding the filler. I just keep turning it so that I'm not putting my hand through the wet part. And I know it looks probably a little mundane or boring or whatever you want to call it because it's all green, but remember we're going to add red berries and I'm going to add gold, do some little outlines. So that will change it up a bit. And I think I'm actually, because now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm actually going to add another one up here to fill in a little bit up at this area as well. I feel like even if I'm drawing it, I still kind of don't end up going with the curve as much as I like. I should have kind of pushed these in a little bit more, but that's okay because I'll kind of create that illusion a little bit better as I put in maybe more berries and things. Again, I'm learning. I don't do a lot of wreaths, but I think they're gorgeous and it's something I want to get better at. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put in some berries. And I think I'm going to use my number 3 round brush. And this time I'm going to add a little bit more water to part of my red paint. So I'll have some really creamy and some a little bit more watered down. Now, if you want to, you can always leave a little white spot as a highlight, or you can go back in with a white acrylic pen or a marker. You can use bleed proof white to add it back in. Soak up a little bit of that water. Now I'm going to go in and just drop in a little bit of a creamier consistency on part of it so that it kind of creates some shadows. Zoom in a little bit more. So this is a little bit more watered down. And again, I'm not just outlining the berry first. I am pushing or pulling that paint in the same direction. If you outline it first, you can get a really harsh line. Now, if you're going to outline it in fine liner or something, it doesn't matter as much, but it's good just to get in practice. And then you want to hold your brush a little bit more perpendicular. If you're leaning too much, then you're going to get outside your line anyway, so you kind of want to hold it upright when you go around. And like for this one, I didn't leave a little highlight, which is okay. And then I'm just going to drop in a little bit of that dark. And here I feel like that's a little bit too much. Too much water. I'm going to lift some of that up. There we go. You can also just fill the berry in with water first, which I'll show you here. Because wherever you put the water it's kind of like the roadmap for where you're going to be putting the paint. So wherever you want that paint to go is where you would put that water in. Kind of dry my brush off. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of the kind of more creamy consistency. And then you can just kind of drop that in, which just means I'm touching the tip of my paper with my brush and then letting that paint kind of diffuse kind of all on its own. So you can play with all 3 of those different ways, see which one you like best. Add a little bit more here for a little variation. So yeah, I'm going to fill these in and then we'll chat. For these 3 here, because I don't want them to bleed together, I'm going to paint one, kind of move along, and then come back and paint the other ones. decided to move up to a little bit bigger brush for these. You get weird lines if you, or it can dry weird if you go over it too many times, and with the smaller brush I feel like that was gonna happen. And I'm gonna make this one a little bigger because I cannot stand this leaf right here. So I'm going to cover that up a little bit, just to kind of try to blend it out, hide it a little. Won't be perfect, but that's okay.
Snow of Christmas is falling from above. It's a sight of wonder, a magic time of love, and it's joy found in each other. It bears a witness of the first snow of Christmas is falling from above. Oh, the first snow of Christmas is falling from
I made this one a little bigger too, so it's definitely not a perfect circle. And that's okay. I don't think every berry is perfectly circular. But that's alright. But I am going to go ahead and get my circle template to put another one up here.
when Christmas comes to town. It's getting cold, baby. I just want you.
It's probably hard to see it, but kind of what I was talking about when you can ruin the tip of your brush. This one now kind of is bent a little bit, but it is hard to see it, but it's just curled up just the tiniest bit, so.
Won't you hold me tight? I don't need any presents, 'cause I know I have you. I just need you, me, and I know it will be a magic holiday. Oh, you make it.
I'm gonna dry this really quick just to make sure it's super dry before I bring in some of the gold. So I will be right back. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and erase anything that I don't want on there because I had like shifted something. So I'm gonna go ahead and erase any of those. Okay, and then I decided for the line, oh, which reminds me, I want to lighten that up too. I'm gonna actually use that gold color that's in the watercolor palette I showed you. So I want this to be super light so you can't see it. Just dark enough for me to be able to kind of follow it. And I'm going to be using that liner, rigger, dagger. No, it's not a dagger. It's a liner or a rigger brush. With metallic-y type paints, you have to make sure that you stir those up really well or you'll miss out on the kind of metallic part. So to stabilize my hand, I will put my pinky down. And again, you want your brush to be kind of perpendicular, not one side or the other. I'm gonna make it a little fatter. Sometimes it's easier for me to go away from myself instead of towards myself because my body gets in the way. And I'm gonna kind of follow the line that I had put in earlier, wherever I can see it in between the leaves and stuff. So I'm thinking of adding a few gold leaves kind of over so it's overlapping a little bit. We're gonna try it. You know what? We're just gonna go with it. Okay, let's see here. I'm gonna use my number 10 Princeton round because I don't want to go over the green very much, or it's going to move that paint and then it's going to be a disaster. So we are going to do our best to just go over it like once, a couple of places. So this could be a disaster. We'll find out. You may just be able to see the other one underneath, but I think that that's okay. And once it's dry, technically we could go over it again. And there are different paints. Actually, I think I'll be right back. I'm going to get a different palette that I have of metallic paints that I know are a lot more opaque. So I will be right back. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna use. It's Komoreli. I don't know, I've had these for a long time. I got them on Amazon, which I will always list my supplies in the description box. Let me get this activated. I like this palette because there's quite a few different metallic colors in here, so I think that's pretty cool. But again, I'm getting this very stirred up so that I can make sure it's nice and creamy and that I can see that metallic. You really have to get it stirred up whenever you activate your paints, or you're just kind of getting a watered down version of what you're kind of going for. And you can always have your spare piece of paper, kind of check the opacity. Okay, I'm gonna let that one dry. I don't want to keep going over. Let's see how this works. There's still gonna be a little bit of show, I think, see-through, but that's okay. We can go through here once and just add some, and then we can always go back over it. I'll just do a few to start with, and then I can always fill some in, because there are other designs that I'm going to put kind of within the circle. Turned out right there, but I'll fix it with the green probably. Okay. I feel like everything down here got smaller for some reason, and I think it's just because of the direction that I had to create them was like different than up here. I don't know. It's funny to see though how things turn out as we do them. And then this brush, as I said before, I can't get a fine as line as I want to, so I am going to go back in with, see, this is turned, I always fiddle, I always do more as I interrupt myself, and then it's like, okay, this was only going to take 20 minutes, and now here we are like 5 hours later. And I want to create a little bit better of a little tail, if you will, so I'm going to go in with this smaller brush so that I can kind of create that, maybe change the shape of a couple of these leaves. So I said it's fun just to kind of play and see what you can come up with. Again, I can get a little bit too crazy, but that's okay. I might put a little bit of green, like I said, a green one over here, because since those gold ones are right next to each other. Like this one, I don't know what happened. Now I am going to go back in with some green to put the green leaf here. And I think I'm also going to make this berry a little bigger so I can put a little bit over that leaf to kind of help with that, and that bled a little bit. I'm not sure it was quite well, and the metallics are kind of hard to cover over too, so I'm That might not work. We're gonna give it our best shot though. Make a more creamy consistency here for that berry. And make it just a little bit bigger. And again, I am gonna do a little bit of outlining, so it'll be all right. I'm gonna dry this one more time, and then I will get the metallic and the liner. All right, so now it's a little bit of doodle time. I think I'm gonna go in with just the gold and then see if I wanna add black, but I think I might just do gold and that's it. So I've shaken up my Posca pen. I'm not gonna outline every leaf necessarily, but maybe. So you can do different designs in the leaves. You can outline outside of the leaf. Make it a little bigger looking. Again, doodle time. Fix the shapes. This is hilarious. Oh my gosh, it looks like it got trampled on. That is too funny. Again, I know you could go a little overboard probably with the gold, but I don't know. It's supposed to be for the holidays, right? Make it flashy. I'm just going to outline a little, like one side of the berries, and then maybe put like a little dot in the center, or like 3 dots. Just to add some interest. Even where like the highlight is, you can add a couple dots. You can spend a lot of time on this. You can always go back over your berries again, add more shadows. Sorry, I keep hitting my watch. You could also do the same with the leaves if you want more variation. Again, I was just trying to make this a little bit more simplified. And then I was gonna go in and just add some little dots. So just so you can see, you always want to shake your Posca pen, and then if you're testing it, you always want to do it on a separate piece of paper. I lost all that when I pushed in the tip. So just be very careful when testing that your acrylic marker is ready to go. I'm going to get a little bit of a fatter one. Be easier to make the dots. It's a little bit fatter. You don't want to push in hard because that's how you'll lose or potentially get that ink to come out like that, and it's, oh boy, you're not really fixing that. And then in my example, I wrote the word joy in the center, which I think I'm gonna do now as well. As I said before, you could have turned it this way and then wrote a word within that if you wanted to. You could have also made this so it was centered and then made it like it was an ornament. There's, you know, sky's the limit. I just decided to make mine like this, but you can always kind of judge, turn it around, see what you think, and then, you know, decide the direction before you would write a word in it. But I think, now that I say that, I'm like, do I like that? Do I want it like this? No, I don't like that. I think I like it like this. Yeah, okay. And I'm just going to freehand it, kind of. I'm just checking these dots to make sure that they're dry before I put my hand down. And I'm still learning lettering, so I just kind of do the best I can. You can always, sometimes I have actually printed out what I like, and then I will trace it, and then I'll go over it. There's a million different ways. You can always use carbon paper, but I'm just gonna wing it. I think that's good to go. Maybe add a few tiny dots, little baby ones around that. That might be too much. Again, I can get a little too crazy with the embellishing. So you could also do splatter, a little red splatter if you wanted to add a little bit, if you wanted, you know, to have it all kind of filled in. But I think I'll stop there because, like I said, I get a little crazy. So you can see the shimmer, hopefully, on camera. So yeah, like I said, tag me on Instagram, email me what yours looks like. I'd love to see. If you enjoy my videos, I would love it if you would subscribe and like my videos. It really helps me to grow my channel and reach new people. And I'm really trying to build a community here so we can learn and grow with each other. So thank you again for being with me. And I don't know if I'll post next Wednesday, but I definitely will the following Wednesday. But I will definitely notify you when I post again. So thanks again, and I will see you next time.